All right, everybody, welcome to this episode of We Are Pro PT. The purpose behind this series is to sit down with some of the leaders of our company, pick their brains a little bit, have some conversations, find out who they are, where they came from, and kind of what drives them and what advice they may give to other people, and just to improve overall connection in this crazy year of disconnect. So as you can tell, when we started recording, I'm smiling ear to ear. Today, I'm very excited. We have none other than George Papadopoulos on the line today. George, thank you so much for your time today. I know you're a very busy man, and you're taking time out of your day to sit down and talk to us. So I appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate it. And someone must be tickling you underneath your armpits to make you smile. Because trust me, I don't make anybody smile like this. Okay. But thank you. I appreciate it.
All right.
And feel free, ask whatever questions you want, personal, non-personal, work-related, anything. So you can get to know me a little bit more than just our conversations that we've had, and that's pretty much it.
I love it. And yeah, George, we've had the opportunity to talk every once in a while at some company events and things like that. And this is something that we'll definitely touch on in this conversation. But the energy that you give off, and the ability to just kind of jump into a conversation and give off exactly who you are in just a few exchanges of words is something that I like about you, and I think it's a good quality to have, and I try to do that myself. Um,
Well,
so
I appreciate you, and I have to be completely transparent and let you know that um, anytime you are the guest, you are featured on our clinical excellent technique peaks. I make sure, listen, I watch them all, but I make sure to pay attention and sometimes even go back and watch them again, because it's not just a clinical technique peak that you send out. There's a human component, there's a personal component, and there's a connection component. And if our therapists can read that and see it and understand it, it's just more than a technique. So I want to say thank you to you. So I
well,
appreciate it.
well, thank you. I appreciate that. So rather than us just compliment each other back and forth for an hour, George, let's so if you don't know, George is one of the founders of our company. So George, take us back to the beginning. Where did you come from? How did you get here? And just give us a little bit of background about yourself.
Okay, I'm a kid born and raised in Astoria, Queens, where all the Greek people live. You know, my dad was a waiter. My mom was a seamstress. She actually made our clothes until I was in the third grade. So my dad being in the service industry, my mother was always entertaining everybody. My father would just bring random people, from the church or from, somewhere. Fast forward into, high school. I played sports. I was a basketball player. I was a skinny kid that, if you looked at me, you said, wow, this guy sucks. And my goal was to rip your heart out every day when we played. And I did that. And then I said, what can I do to service individuals? Because I do enjoy to be with people. And then I, went on the path of physical therapy and athletic training. And while I was in PT school, I went to Long Island University. I went there as an undergrad and joined their pre-physical therapy program. Did coursework, had to redo coursework like, everybody has to. It's not the end of the world. People like, my grades aren't good. And I'm like, okay, great. So go do them over, and, got into PT school. And while I was in PT school, there were many types that were there. There were the geeks, the nerds, the smarty people, the people that sit in the first row. And I just said, look, I want to be able to service people, touch people, get them better, and make them remember me. And that was it. So, when I was in physical therapy school, I did my thesis dissertation on the KT1000, and I developed a pad to go on the sensor pad that was already there, and did an inter and intra tester reliability. And that's when I met Rob Panarello. He had published studies already on the KT1000 with the New York Giants. So I met Rob, asked him to be on my committee member, and he was. We finished it. We did it. I graduated, and Rob said to me, before you take a job, please call me. At the time, Rob was the director at Pro Sports Care on Long Island in Uniondale. And he said to me, before you take a job, come here. I had 4 job interviews, which all offered me positions. And I say this to every person that I interview that goes into physical therapy, because everybody says, well, I have another job that could pay me X or Y or whatever. So back then I had 4 offers. I had an offer at like 44,000, 45,000. And I called Rob, and Rob said, listen, I can give you a job. It's $40,000. That's $5,000 in 1992. Do the math. In 2020, that's probably like $25,000 to $30,000 difference. Okay. Sorry. I actually look like Rob because I have my thing on. So I took the job, and then basically, Rob took me under his wing, and I basically, every free and spare time that I had, I went to hospital for special surgery, or I used to shadow physicians from hospital for special surgery to basically get my evaluation skills better and better and better. I was fortunate while I worked there for the 3 years, I got to work with a lot of professional athletes. Rob, gave me that opportunity. And then I went into Manhattan and started my career in Manhattan. I was given an opportunity to go to Manhattan. It was not the place that I wanted to go to at the time. I wanted to go to a place in Queens. And Rob looked at me and said, you don't get many opportunities in life. And this is what I say to people when they want to be a clinical director. And I say, oh, we have a site here. Yeah, that's too far. I'm like, okay, great. May not come up again. So I went there, started my career, and that kind of bolstered it to, know the physicians from Lenox Hill Hospital for Special Surgery, NYU. And then we got sold to Health South in an evening. Okay. I woke up the next morning and I'm like, wow, this sucks. And so I left Manhattan and I went back to Long Island to seek shelter, to work under Rob. And I was there for a year and a half, 2 years. I walked into his office and I said, hey, now we've become very, very good friends. Very, very good friends. And he's also my boss and my mentor. I have an older brother. I have an older sister. But if you ask me, Rob is my older brother, probably more than my blood relative of my older brother is. I love them both the same, but I talk more with Rob. Then, I walked in and said, hey, I'm leaving. I'm telling you as my friend, I'm leaving and I'm starting a company. If you want to come with me, that would be great. I would love to be your partner and continue to learn the way I learn. And then I flipped my other hat on and said, now I'm your employee. I want to let you know that I'm going to give you 6 weeks. You can have 8 weeks if you need, but I'm going to start my own practice come January. And this was like in September. I go, so you can keep me as long as you want. And that's where it was. And, you know, I attribute my wife. We were walking our dog, and she said, do you really just want to work, you know, for someone else your whole life? You have all these contacts, and everybody sends to you, not to the company, to you. And that's how we did it. And that's the reality. And, you know, from there, we grew it. At the end of the day, I love people. I love to treat people. I love to get people better. I love to interact with them. I love our staff. And again, that's just how I got started. You know, I hope I didn't ramble too long, but that's kind of where it is. I still enjoy, you know, you said one thing, you know, like energy, so on and so forth. I was in our 84th Street clinic in Manhattan, and I was speaking to Rebecca, a physical therapist that was there, and the clinic director, Sean. And Rebecca asked me a question. She goes, can I ask you a question? She goes, sure. I said, you can ask me any question. She goes, how do you get so fired up, and you've been practicing 27, 28 years? I said, I get fired up because every day I help someone different. I touch someone different. I do something different. Okay. And to me, it's so important to be, if you can change someone's life or be a person that made a difference, to me, that's what gets me going every day. I hate going to meetings. I hate going to like taking calls and things like that. I like to be in the clinic, be with people. And again, it fires me up every day. I want to learn something new. I know it sounds kind of corny, but all the young people know I want to learn something new from them every day.
That is a fantastic answer, and I really hope everyone was listening to that, because there are so many gems in there. And George, one of the themes that I'm sensing, and I'm sure you know this about yourself, is from a young age you watched your parents work hard. They
Mm-hmm.
weren't handed things on a silver platter. They had to work
Mm-hmm.
for what they had, work for what you had. The fact that your mother made your clothes until you were in third grade is an amazing fact right there, and really speaks volumes of the culture that you were brought up in.
I have pictures. Trust me, you do not want to see the suit that she had me in. Oh no.
A little bit of a side,
Vintage. It makes vintage look something different.
a little bit of a side tangent here, but you are one of the best dressed physical therapists, at least on the East Coast. So maybe it's a tip of the hat to your mom or what have you, but we digress. We'll get back there. One of the themes is this idea of not having a lot and working your tail off to get what you want. Even with, like you said, with basketball, you may not have been the best on the court, but you're going to be the hardest worker out there, and you're going
Yeah.
to you're going to build everyone up to work hard around you. Same thing with your physical therapy career. You could have just been the 9 to 5 physical therapist, go in, get your paycheck, come home, but you made relationships. You went to hospital for specialists or HSS,
Yeah.
and you put yourself out there. So I see this theme, George, that you just work. You have this disgusting work ethic that just you grind and grind, and you bring other people up with you as you're doing that. Is that accurate? Do you feel that that's accurate?
Well, look, I can't have what I have today without Rob Panarello. So, you know, I can grind all I want. You know, the guy had the key to the door and opened the door and brought me in. And I have many people that are in the company that, you know, I really hold very true and dear to me because they have gone and put the effort in. So, look, I have people on Long Island, people in the city, people in New Jersey that really, really, you know, I've connected with, and they have the drive. And sometimes it just doesn't pan out, and they don't understand why. and I always tell them not to give up, because no one can ever take that away from you. You can give up on it, but no one can ever take it away from you. And that's the one thing that I always say is, be special. Be special every day. And I'm not talking about by saying jokes, by saying stupid things. Be special. Touch somebody. And the one gift that I tell everybody in the clinic, if you ever are covering a shift and you're working on other therapists' patients, you're not changing their treatment plan. You're not changing their treatment plan. I must stress this. But when the patient ends their treatment with you, they say, "What days are you here? Can I see you again?" And I tell every therapist that loses a patient like that, you suck. Okay? Because you're too comfortable in your skin or whatever that you just think that everything's fine. Okay? Connect with your patients every time. Don't treat them like wood. Don't look, they're not the nicest people in the world. They're not. But guess what? That's what we signed up for. If we didn't want to take it, then go somewhere else. And so,
Yeah.
apologize.
That's super, super important, I think. And the one of the other things that I wanted to kind of go back to was this moment when you made the decision to go out on your own. And you said it was walking with your wife, and it was a
Yeah, we were walking the
conversation.
dog. We were walking the dog.
So that too, it seems like it's this thing that just happened. You talk about it like it's something that happens every day, but in reality, that must have taken a lot of confidence. It must have been a little scary. It must have been a risk at the time. How old were you, George, at the time? About
Uh, 29, 29, 30. I was 30. Yeah.
so very young in
So,
your career.
first year, and for those of you who've worked with me for a long time, this is like an old story. First year, my daughter is 21, soon to be 22, but she was born in 99 when we opened the doors. She was born in July. We opened the doors in January of 99. So that first year, my wife was pregnant, and I had no money coming in. No money came in for 14 months. So, I mean, it was, and when someone says to me, "Oh, you've done well in your life. Oh, you've sold the company. Oh, you've done this." I'm like, yeah, you could have taken a risk too and been without a paycheck for 14 months. So anytime someone says, and it becomes jealous, okay? My mother said to me, it's a job to be jealous of somebody, okay? So I'm not going to waste my time being jealous of somebody else, because I got a job already. I have people to worry about. I don't need to worry about somebody else. And that's
That's true.
how I run my life. And some people like it, some people don't. I piss a lot of people off. I apologize. So
Yeah. I mean, all you could do is be yourself, and anything other than that is not authentic, and people see through that. And I think that's a great segue into something you mentioned before, and that's the importance of connection and getting to know people, and realizing that this person in front of us isn't a knee. This person isn't a shoulder. This is
yeah,
someone's mother. This is someone's sister. This is someone's
yep,
daughter. This is a human being who is a living, breathing human being, and is more than
hmm,
just a body part.
yep.
George, if you want to talk a little bit more about that, how important it is to take the whole person into account, not only the patient in front of us, but people around you who you're trying to bring up and build a team. How important is it to look at our patients as people, and also our employees not as soldiers, or not as numbers, or not
Yeah.
as cogs in
Hmm.
a wheel?
Hmm.
Each employee, each physical therapist comes from a different background, has different goals.
Yep.
How do you kind of tie all that in together?
Look, when I work, I prefer to work with a lot of new graduates. I really do. Because those are the ones that you have the opportunity to figure out who they are. I've always been one that I can teach someone how to be a good physical therapist. There's book knowledge, there's clinical knowledge, there's application. You can't teach human qualities to people. That you are a product of your environment, you're a product of your family, you're a product of your people, you're a product of the people that you associate yourself with. If you associate yourself with complainers and people that wake up every day and take a bite out of a shit sandwich when they wake up, they're miserable. So you will be miserable too. But taking somebody and growing together with somebody is huge. You look at just the other day, I was with a new grad and we were co-treating one of his patients, and the woman was an adhesive capsulitis, and when I got to meet her, I said, "Hey, how are you?" This has been going on for 6 months. Okay. And the first thing she said to me, she worked in an industry. She lost her job due to COVID. Her unemployment's running out. And then I saw how apprehensive she was, how anxious she was. So I wrote down on a piece of paper to the student, all my manual tricks that I have are not going to work because of this. Then I spoke to him the day after and I said, look, we did a treatment together. Not sure how much we actually helped her, but what's going to help her is for you and her to actually connect, because right now she has no faith, no trust in anyone because she's on an island alone. And I said, I know we want to treat her adhesive capsulitis, but we have to be able to connect with her in order to get her better. So we looked at two things. Her joint capsule was not tight at all. She could glide inferiorly, posteriorly, anteriorly, very well, very well. And she could understand that, but it was strictly a guarding, an adaptive muscle shortening that we try to assess and teach her and show her. So she got it. But at the end of the day, I said to him, I said, she's going to do better by doing things for herself as opposed to you cranking and so on and so forth. So understand that, yes, you need to get mobility, you need to get range, and you need to get strength. At the same token, what your book taught you isn't going to work in this situation. So we need to now alter it. And that was a situation where the PT, texted me after, we talked, thanks, so on and so forth. But that's what we don't get taught in school. And that's what I really, try to put my pulse on, put my finger on with therapists and let them understand that you treat the patient, not the diagnosis. So.
I've seen that. That's one of the paradigm shifts that I've gone through in my own career, and it's so true. And once you see the outcomes and when you see those breakthroughs of just having a conversation with someone and their actual shoulder moves further just by having that conversation, building that
Yes.
rapport, it's an amazing thing. George, how did you figure that out? How did you learn that? Did a mentor
Listen,
take you under their?
I've
Okay.
been a therapist for 27 years, okay? I've hurt people, I've made them worse, and I've learned from it, okay? Over the last 7 years, I've spent a lot of time with Rob Shapiro. Lots and lots and lots of time. And I enjoy our clinical discussion. I enjoy our clinical application. I enjoy him making me think differently. And I looked at, so every joint that's in our body has an origin or an insertion of a muscle on it, okay? And when the joint doesn't have mobility, we immediately think, let's go to a PA mob, an AP mob, some type of a mob, grade 1, grade 2, 3, 4, whatever. And, I used to do that. And then I got to a point where I started saying, wow, is it truly the joint, or is it the muscles that are originating or inserting around that joint that's giving it the lack of mobility? And learning how to address it, learning how to find it, and doing that. And in doing that, it gave me an opportunity of a way that I could treat using, I tell students, I tell therapists, what's your best modalities? And my best modalities is K and O, because I want to kick ass with these. All right. If I could say that, and I apologize. All right. That's the reality. Not an ultrasound, not an electric stim, not heat, not ice, not anything else. These two things, because, these two are what make us special. Okay. And also, there was a point in time where I met these two, this one massage therapist back in 2000. No, earlier, sorry, in 2004, 2005, when she was an athletic trainer, worked for us, but she left us and went out to the West Coast and did more and more and more stuff with her massage therapy, and then came back. And at the time, she was just looking for work. So she didn't want to come back in the athletic training world. And she goes, look, I want to do massage therapy, if you ancillary work, so on and so forth. I said, sure. I said, look, I got to be completely honest. I don't know whether you're good or not good, whatever. I said, let's try to work together. And she's like, sure, what's your problem? And she worked on me. And I was like, okay, I've never felt like this before from a massage with the true releases. And then I started sending her patients. And we started working together, and I started seeing the results. And then it got to the point where I'm like, I can do what she's doing in the clinic, in 5 and 10 and 20 minutes, where she can do it over an hour or 90 minutes. So if I add that to my patient treatment session, I'm going to get these same results. And I started to, and then it started working. And that was it. Like I tell everybody, if we have a shoulder patient, rotator cuff patient, and by 10 to 12 weeks, they don't have full range of motion, but they start developing some bicep tendonitis, pat ourselves on the back. We just gave our patient bicep tendonitis. The patellar tendonitis is that we give our ACL patients. Yeah, I know the kid walks around a lot, walks at school, this, that, whatever. I go, but then we bring them in and we load the crap out of their knee and don't release any of their quad or hip flexors or anything else that actually tugs on that patella and makes it tight. Well, we just caused them patellar tendonitis. And that's what I talk about. And that's what I look at. And that's what made me change into different things. Now I spend time with Rob Shapiro, and he brings me into a completely different stratosphere, that it's like, okay, if that muscle is active and on, well, it may be the agonist, and so its antagonist, which is opposite to it, is off. And we could be working in rehab that antagonist muscle as much as we want. It's never going to fire because we've never shut off the agonist. And that brought it into a new aspect. So now it's like, and I love to do this. I put people on the table and I say, try this. And everything is test, retest with me. And that's why I'm like, when people say, oh, I don't know how to build 95730, we didn't do a functional thing. Everything is function for me. I make them reach, I make them put their arm behind their back, I make them do something that's functional. Then I treat, then I retest. If it's improved, that's part of my therapy component. But being able to put somebody on the table who's an athlete now, a professional athlete, and they feel that they can do, and show them that they have a weakness because there's a muscle that's inhibiting that muscle. It's not weak. It's just a muscle that's inhibiting that muscle. I release it, retest them. The guy looks at me like, or the girl looks at me and says, what the heck just happened? And that I attribute that to Rob Shapiro. And, you know, like when he comes up with these, he's Mr. He fixes Humpty Dumpty. Okay, because Humpty Dumpty fell and broke into how many bazillion pieces, right? Rob's patients that come see him are misfit toys of all of us as therapists because we botched them and couldn't get them better. So take advantage of Rob Shapiro anytime you can see him. I'm telling you. And like I said, I'm 20 something years and I will call Rob Shapiro and say, hey, I'm stuck. I will call Rob Panarello, say, hey, I'm stuck. Okay. And I ask new graduates all the time, hey, what do you think? What did you learn? How would you handle this? So
I think, George, that's a really, really great point. And I think one of the themes again that I'm seeing is this, you don't look at mistakes as bad things. You look at them as times to learn.
yeah.
You're always open to learning, to having your biases questioned. So can we talk about that for a little bit? How important is it to look at mistakes or negative feedback rather than let it get you down and curl up in the fetal position? How do you take it for what it is, figure out what you can do better to move on, and actually get better and actually use it as a learning experience? How have you built that throughout your career?
So it's called acceptance. Okay. And I've learned to do that, and I'm still not great at it. I still struggle with it. I've gone through some dark times, some personal battles that I've had, not drug related, not anything like that. It's more like personal, marital things like that. And it brought me to a point where it made me accept who I am, my faults, and when I cause someone else to feel a certain way, to be able to accept it and understand it and know why. So I joke a lot with therapists and say, hey, on Friday in the summer, okay, pre-COVID days, someone says, we get a lot of cancels on Friday because people go down to the Jersey Shore, they go up to the Cape, they go to the Hamptons. And why does that happen? Well, kind of happens because they're like, well, I can do my stuff at home, so there's nothing really valuable for me to come in, and I value me going to my Hampton house way more than staying to see you for physical therapy. So I call cancellations and no-shows disrespectos. And people are like, well, they'll make any excuse. The bottom line is when a patient doesn't come in and there's not a death in the family, their child doesn't have to be rushed to the hospital, they're not sick with 100-something fever, it's telling you that everything else in their life trumps what you are delivering for them. So I've taken that and I accept it. So, when I have a patient and we don't connect, which happens, I've had many a patient that say, get that guy away from me. He's crazy. And then I need to look back and say, okay, what did I not do that created that situation? Everybody's always going to blame somebody else. I still like to blame people. Okay. At the end of the day, the reality is it's called acceptance. You have to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I didn't do a great job here. And until you can accept that, you will never learn from your mistakes. People say, oh, my coach, this, that, whatever. No. Okay. And that's why narcissistic individuals never learn. And it's just reality. You have to accept. And I know there's way too many people. I can say things that I shouldn't be saying, but people just they have to accept. That's what it is.
I wish you wouldn't have held back what you were just going to say, but I respect, I respect the fact that you, that you did.
I've grown. I've gotten better. I've gotten better.
I've heard that similar concept described as a locus of control. So if something happens,
I lack control. I just try to talk about control. That's what my therapist told me many years ago. You know.
No, but the idea of when something bad happens or when you're in a certain situation, what is the first thought? What is the first instinct? So say, for example, if I have an argument with my wife, not that I've ever had an argument with my wife, but just in case I ever.
Anger is the root of all problems.
Yeah. So this idea that when something happens, or if there's negative feedback, or if there is an argument, the first knee-jerk reaction has to be, what did I do in this situation? How can I improve? Because if you point externally, you can't control other people. You can't control the circumstances most of the time. But what you can control every damn time is how you respond, what you learn from it, and how you get better after that. And I think using the example of the patients canceling is a great example, because it is easy to say, well, it's the holidays and the people are going to take off, or, oh, well, it's the summer and people are going to go. There may be a little bit of truth to that, but what benefit are you going to have by focusing on that? All we can do is make ourselves better. So what did I do to make that person, just like you said, value going on vacation rather than coming in insecure?
Listen, one thing that I will never forget, and two people, if they see this, who are still working with the company, will understand and know exactly the situation that I'm talking about. It was probably 2004, okay, 2005 maybe, and there was, I think, a Jay-Z song or some type of song on in our clinic, and I was working on a patient that either had a chelectomy or something that came from one of our top physicians at the time. And something was said, in the lyrics, and we all laughed about the lyrics. And the patient thought we were talking about his foot and never came back again. And then we lost that physician for 2 months until it returned, but it literally was like a 2 to 3 month type of, getting this thing back. And that's where I always say, we can joke, we can laugh, but people may misinterpret or misunderstand. So, this was a simple situation where we really meant nothing by it, but we all ended up having egg on our face. And now myself and the other two people are doing extremely well. They're awesome at what they do. And they can all laugh about that. So.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. And George, I want to be respectful of your time here. I feel like we could go on forever.
Ask me whatever you want. We can. I like I said to you, unless you have to go and run, No,
all right. Yeah, I'm good. Definitely. So we talked about.
I only chewed up 10 minutes of your time figuring out how to get onto this Zoom, right?
Yeah, in the beginning, it looked like there was some kind of filter making you look like a robot or something there, but we got it worked out. We brought in the expert, your IT department.
IT person. I brought in my IT person. So ask away.
Sure. All right. Cool. So, what would you say is the best advice that you've ever gotten from someone? And the second part of that is, what advice would you give to younger clinicians, younger people? Because we kind of touched on that already, some of the ways that you teach the younger clinicians. But what is some advice that you received back in the day that really helped you kind of form who you are today?
Listen, listen. So there's the difference between listening, and then there's the difference between hearing. My wife says I listen, but I don't hear. Okay. And sometimes that's selective. It's true. It's true. I really don't want to hear. No, it's listening, hearing, taking a minute, and then acting. And if I really could do that, man, I'd have so many less problems in my life. Uh, and it's a learned behavior. Some people are excellent at it. Some people are average. Some people just think they're good. Also, don't interrupt. I interrupt all the time. I've interrupted you 10,000 times. If my wife was to be watching this, she'd be like, you didn't even let the guy talk and he was trying to interview you. So, if you put that into patient care, it's listening to your patient, understanding your patient, and then talking to your patient. Now, the one thing with your patient and with that I talk about with our profession is that we still need to have a component of not only buy-in, but selling our treatment, selling our profession, and expanding upon that with patients, with physicians, why we mean something, why we make a difference. So if you can go back, you can listen, you can hear them, you can digest it, and then direct the response, and then a therapeutic plan, and make a difference, that's great. And look, I have to say, a lot of people do it that way, and many people skin the cat a different way. That doesn't mean that mine's right or wrong. At the end of the day, like Rob Panarello told me, Johnny Parker, who used to be the strength and conditioning coach for the Giants, he's won a Super Bowl with the Giants, two of them, one with Tampa Bay. And I'm not sure if he won one with the Patriots, but he said to Rob, people always question his strength and conditioning techniques, and he says, "Great." He goes, "You train your team and work your team out, and I'll train my team and work them out, and then we'll meet on the field. And if we kick your ass, okay." So, it's a result thing.
Yeah. I love it. And you had a great point there that I just want to kind of highlight. And that's this idea that the ability to listen, to stop, think about what you're feeling, think about how you want to respond, and choose your response is so important. Not always easy, just like you said, and it takes practice, it takes time, just like anything else, to be able to have that time before we respond. So we're not like dogs, where if a dog gets hurt or scared, it's going to react. It's not going to say, now, why do I feel angry that my owner did that? They don't have that ability to do that, but we do. And sometimes we don't use it. Sometimes we just react to certain things. And once again, these things that we're talking about relate to patient care, but it also relates to pretty much everything in life. If a patient says something to you, you have to be able to accept it for what it is, breathe it in, take a moment, and then choose your response. We can't just react to what our patients say, just like in any kind of interaction outside of the clinic too. So that's a really great insight there, George. And have you found any strategies to build that, to practice it? Is it just keep doing it over time? Do you do any kind of like breathing exercises or meditation, anything like that?
Yeah, I learned how to breathe a long time ago. No. Um, again, I have to be completely honest. There's a product of your environment. You know, uh, I saw certain things with my dad that I liked and I didn't like, and I always say that don't act like him. That doesn't mean that I don't do those things. And then I've met clinicians that have inspired me, and you know, look, I watched Rob Panarello deal with professional athletes and deal with regular the Joe Blow or someone's grandma, and he gets results. I once worked with some therapists that used to comment and joke that he used to have 3 things that he always did, and they used to make fun and say, "Oh, the finishing move, the finishing move." Yeah, but his finishing move patients got better and yours didn't. So, like I said, it's hard. It's a job to be jealous. It's a job to hate. It's a job to dislike. It's a chore. And I feel sorry. I feel sorry for people like that. I really do. I try to want to help them. But you can only, do so much. Everybody has a guardian angel. Everybody has someone that's there. That's, whether it's their mentor, or whether it's somebody that kind of talks them, leads them through things. And I've been fortunate in my life that I've had, good mentors, basketball coaches, teachers, professors, and colleagues that have, helped me get to where I am today.
I love it. George, what do you think? So I could think of a few myself just from this conversation, but if you had to kind of pick out what are your best attributes that have gotten you where you are today? Like, think of like a superpower, like not like the job interview question,
Okay.
like
All right.
what's your
All right.
superpower and why? Like, what is it about you? Like, whether it's staying calm under pressure, having empathy, building a team, like what is your superpower or powers?
Okay. All right. I'm good looking. I dress well. No, I'm kidding. All right. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Uh, superpowers. Geez, if I had some superpowers. So we always talk about this. We used to talk about this in the clinic. Would you want to be Superman or would you want to be Batman? So I said, I'd like to be Batman because Batman was human. Okay. He was good looking, dressed well, was well liked by all. Okay. And then he had this side where no one knew who he was, and he would save society, or try to at least. But he was human. Now, Superman came from a different country. There was kryptonite that could hurt him, and he was not human. So we joked about that, and that was something in the Rosalind Clinic back in the 2008, 2009 days that we used to joke about. So no, as regards to superpowers or anything that I think I have over people, both my wife and my son say this to me all the time. I'm not you. I think I'm wired differently in the respect that if we are competing, you can be killing me. If we're playing basketball and your team is beating my team 100-70, I'm still playing at 110% because I still want to beat you, even though I know I can't, because I never want you to ever see me being defeated. So that's even on a daily basis when I'm in a clinic and I'm in the weeds like there's no tomorrow. I just try to keep my composure and keep going. I tell therapists all the time, you're treating your patient, know your therapy, your other therapist patients as well. Know who's in the clinic at all times, even if they're your patients or not. Understand your surroundings. And I guess this came from, me growing up in Queens. If you leave me in a place in New Jersey, in someone's backyard where there's trees all over the place, I'm more scared there that someone's going to come out and get me than if you left me on a street corner with like drug dealers and bad people. And I always say, I can see that coming and I can react to it. So again, being in a clinic, I can react. And then it doesn't hurt that I have undiagnosed or self-diagnosed adult ADD. So, I squirrel and can do kind of 10 things at the same time. So that's it.
Cool. That's a great answer, a really great answer to that question. George, my last question here, as we kind of come full circle here, we talked about in the beginning how you said the one clinician said, how do you get this excited about what you do every day after this long? And you said it was because you're passionate about this stuff. This isn't hard for you to love.
Yeah.
So what could you give the listeners? What is your why? What is your passion, kind of bundled up in a little box? What would you say that is for you?
Wake up every day and want to make a difference. And I don't mean that. Like, people always ask me, how do I get my clinic busy? How do I get referrals? How do I meet doctors? How do I do this? And I always tell them, be a really good therapist. And I don't mean a really smart therapist, because there's a difference between a smart therapist and a good therapist. So just make a difference. I cannot go on a Zoom without giving a little shout out to my guy in New Jersey, who everybody thinks I love like more than anybody else, and that's Elliot Ludi. But I give him a shout out because he's endured my pain. He's endured me as an aide. He's endured me as a student in PT school, and he's shown me character and a work ethic. And though whether successful or not in different places, the guy doesn't give up. And there are many, many, many people like that have worked with me. Paige Darby, and I still call her by her maiden name, okay, was a student in Garden City. I interviewed her, and then she worked with me in Roslyn. And she probably right now is looking and saying that my glasses are dirty, because that's her big thing when we work together. How do you see out of your glasses? Because they're so dirty. But Paige, and she picked up on certain things, on how to be special with a patient. Paige came in her first day, I think, and said, I was so afraid of you on the interview and like after the first week. And then once you get to realize who and what I am and why I enjoy being intense in the clinic, you find things easy. I tell people, if you start your day, for those who played sports and for those who didn't and just went to school. So if you start your day at 12 o'clock and you come to the clinic at 5 to 12, in my book, if you came a second later than 11:30, you are late to the clinic. Because let's think about this, school first, okay? You go to school. I always used to go to school early because I used to hang out with my friends. We used to like get in trouble, do bad things.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that for a second. I'm sorry, George.
Yeah. And then, you go to practice. You go to practice early. Why? Because you have to change. You have to get ready. You have to go to the training room. And then you have to be out in practice. If you just showed up right before and got your ankle stayed, you're late for practice. So I equate that and bring it back full circle to a clinician and say, you come to the clinic, your first day, you're there, you can review all your patients' charts for the day. You can determine from your last note what needs to be done today, what needs to be changed today, what can I put forward. Now you can also look at your schedule and say, wow, where's Jimmy? Because Jimmy usually comes Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but he's not on the schedule. So now, yes, Jimmy called and canceled. So now your concerning person would be like, wow, what happened with Jimmy? So there's so many things, and I can go on and on and on and on and on that involve that half an hour of preparation. You can still do that same preparation and joke and laugh with your other clinicians, with your front desk person, have coffee, whatever you want to do. At the end of the day, it's something different. For those people who have worked with me in the morning, you can ask any one of them. You think I'm on speed in the morning. I don't drink coffee. I wake up like this. My wife says to me, you need to calm down. On the weekend, she'll say to me, you need to calm down. I need to have my coffee and I need to just slowly get into the day. You get up and you're like the Tasmanian devil. You want to hit everything and go crazy. And that's why, if you've ever worked with me, my first 2 hours in the clinic, I probably see more patients than people see sometimes in a day. So just prepare, be ready. And I'm not talking about reading, doing all these things. I'm talking about being prepared to take and go through your day. Because we're human too. We have feelings. We don't feel well. We're angry. We're anxious. We're this. And just be able to understand the things that you have, and your body's gonna end up making some compensations. We all know that. So I hope I was helpful. I hope I didn't come up with some bad stories, but that's basically my story in a nutshell.
George, I can't thank you enough. I think my neck is sore from nodding and my cheeks are sore from smiling. This has been an absolute pleasure.
I want to promise you one thing, because I enjoy your energy every time I see you on the Technique Peaks and today, and your willingness to think outside the box and wanting to do things like this. Okay, because people like yourself are who make a difference in our company. Okay, there are many people like you. Some people may just be afraid to come out. Okay, but I can't thank you enough, because you are energy that I really appreciate. And I promise you, I will come and spend a day, an afternoon with you. Okay, Elliot, I'm not coming to see you. Nick trumps you.
George, I appreciate those kind words, and it truly means a lot, especially coming from you. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you were all listening. This has been extremely valuable. Everything from listening to getting to know our patients, to the importance of hard work, to building a team. There's just so many things in here that are great, and I hope you listen to this and listen to it again, because there truly are so many gems in here. So I want to thank everybody for tuning into this episode of We Are Pro PT. George, I want to thank you so much again for your time. And
thank you so much. Can
absolutely.
You do me one favor though?
Sure.
Can you tell me who hooks you up with your beard? It looks pretty solid.
I'll tell you what, it's with the wearing masks and everything, I'm surprised I even have it looking this good, but it's the little things. Even though no one's going to see it, I try to make it look as nice as I can.
All right.
So,
okay. So,
but I have some patches here, so I'm trying to up my beard game, but I don't know. We'll see how that goes. All right.
Thank you so much. I had a lot of fun.
Good. Me too. Me too. Definitely. Everybody, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.